Welcome back. Again, this is Whissel Weekend. The co-host, nearly 5 years. Kyle and I have been doing the show. It'll be in June. It'll be our 5th year. We'll be starting our 6th year, so we have completed 5 years in June. But here's a little button. Man. You know what that is, right, Ed?
Oh, yeah. Star Wars?
It's game time. See, that's what you're thinking. See, Keith's not a big sports fan, but I know. You know it's game time, Ed. That is Monday Night Football theme for many years. And again, as we talked about in the beginning, Kyle and I are actually in Atlanta right now if you're listening to the show. If you're watching us on Facebook, we fly out Friday night. But literally, we are so excited. We are just football fans, and we're going to be going to the Super Bowl, assuming we get reasonable tickets. And again, they're going to be like $2,000 a ticket.
That's reasonable. You
know, which at this moment it's reasonable, but when you tell people are like, you're spending $2,000, you know, you could buy my first car wasn't $2,000, and my first car wasn't $2,000.
You could buy a new TV for $2,000, sit in the comfort of your home and
there were some really nice TVs I saw. I saw one this morning on Fox. They were showing for $2,100. They got this new Samsung that literally, when it's off, it is a picture. So it's an art picture. I don't know if you guys seen this.
No,
so can you imagine that? I mean, so when it's off, it's not just a black screen. It looks like a fine piece of art that's hanging on your wall.
And you can choose that art.
Mm-hmm. So here's who I've got for this short segment. Thanks, Keith.
You're welcome.
I'm thinking so many things here. Is
your mind on football.
Yeah, is a really good friend of mine who I met in our networking group, and we were just talking with BNI, Ed Wilson, who's in charge of all of San Diego for BNI. And we're in a different networking group, but we totally agree with what Ed had said. Reach out to Ed, Keith, if you guys are involved and want to get involved in networking. But it allowed Kathy Christmas and I to meet. And Kathy is the founder and owner of Golden Property Management. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to be here.
No, I'm glad to have you. I mean, we've known,
awesome.
I was so surprised. I was thinking, I said, have I had you on the radio before? And you were like, no, Jason, you haven't. And I was like, what? How have I not connected you with Kyle, who, you know, you guys know of one another, but you being a property manager, and one of the things I definitely know about you is that you're local right here to San Diego.
Yep. Right
and your team's big niche that you guys do is you handle just residential. So talk about that. What does that mean, residential real estate?
Yeah, we really fine-tuned our niche. So we specialize in single-family condo townhouses, duplex, triplex, fourplex, and small apartment buildings. But it allows us to really hone in exactly on those type of owners and as well those properties. So it allows us to kind of really fine-tune and do a really good job that way.
Now, you know all the ins and outs because you have quite a bit. I mean, like, just give us an idea of how many units you manage.
Yeah, we're cresting right over 300 properties right now.
So you and your team are managing 300 properties, and so you know all the laws. You know, we'll talk about it. I'm sure there's some new laws. Every calendar year, there seems to be new stuff that comes out. You know, so let me just jump into that. What are any funky or any new laws that have come out recently?
Yeah, one of the biggest ones, especially for everyone, any property that's in the city of San Diego. So this would discount any property that's in La Mesa, El Cajon.
Because those are county.
Yes, Santee, but just in the city of San Diego. Now, starting August 1st, you have to accept Section 8 vouchers as a source of income. Currently, right now, it is the homeowner can decide whether or not they want to accept them as a source of income. But as of August 1st, they need to be accepted as a source of income.
So the city of San Diego ruled and is making that a requirement for every investor who rents out their property.
Right. And you still have your own qualifying process that they have to still go through. But it is now going to be required as a source of income. So I'm sure it's just, the other counties will follow suit as well. So it just opens it up for them as far as utilizing that. So that's a big one.
Now, not everybody understands what Section 8 is, and I don't. You weren't prepared for this, but could you just give us a rough idea of what Section 8 is?
Yeah, it's just it's housing assistance through the city, and then you also have housing assistance through the county. So it depends on where that individual gets the acceptance or the voucher from is where they can go and utilize it to help out with rent.
And that's typically people who don't have much money or make much money, and it's kind of a way for the government to keep people from not being homeless, is to help assist, especially in high-cost areas like San Diego and L.A., and that kind of allows that. Is it giving kind of a good...
Yeah, and it just is. Sometimes it just really helps them out in the sense it's not 100% rent. It goes off of what their income is, and so it might just have a little bit of an assistance on there. I mean, we all know that San Diego is one of the top, rents, so it just allows people to have a little bit of assistance there.
Okay. Well, I've known Kyle since he's 19, and he probably hates me to even say this on the air, but I'm trying to figure out. I think he just turned 37. Ed's looking at me. I'm looking up here just trying to focus on something, Ed. But I think he's 37 years old. I think you're 37, Kyle. And that's my guess. I think he'll be 38 this year. I believe he was born November
if not, you're
of
buying
81.
Tickets.
If not, I'm buying tickets. But I'm pretty confident it's November 81. But he owns quite a bit of rental property. And a lot of my clients, over the years have owned, and I've owned. And the one thing I tell everybody when they go, hey, I'm thinking about buying a property, I said, you got to get a property manager because A, it's tax deductible. B, do you want to get the call that the toilet's backed up, the sewage is not going out, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning? No. You want to have a team that manages that. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what Kathy's team's actually mastered, because you don't get the call at 2, but somebody on your team would route that call and get that and handle that, right? And so talk about a little bit about how you guys manage that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're more of a, there's 7 of us, so we run as a team together. And so we do it's kind of like the military. We kind of have a weekly watches. So we each get the phone for that week, and you're in charge. So anytime after hours when the phone calls come in, but we also have aligned ourselves with the right vendors too. And that's part of being successful in property management, to have, that's where the rubber hits the road.
So you've got the on-call plumber, drain guy,
which goes hand in hand with the networking for sure. I mean, that is actually one of the biggest part for my business is the networking, is all the people that we can 100% rely on. We know that if they're going into someone's house, if they're not there, it's safe, that they're licensed, insured, and all of that. And that right there is number one. It's really important.
Yeah, that'd be like Source One, Nick North, the electrician, right? Having that, I'm sure you've made calls to him and your team multiple times.
Village Plumbing,
Village Plumbing,
Heating and Air, for sure.
Yeah, Tom over at San Diego Flood Restoration.
But I think that's one of as far as with owners, there's many owners treat property management as an expense, when in actuality it really is an investment. Sticking on the vendor side, to make sure they're licensed and insured is really important. So many people that have investment, and as far as owners, they try to get the least amount, the deal, that's the low cost. And there's a lot of liability that happens, and especially nowadays. So that's another thing that a lot of owners, if you manage your own property, to really think about, and especially on larger. If they're a little small handyman, that's fine, but bigger items, you really, really need to think about your vendors that you're using. And
Kyle, he always have property managers in every property. He's learned, and he tells all his clients who try to buy investment, don't try to nickel dime and try to do it yourself. You're going to find out it's worth it to have a professional knows the ins and outs. Mm-hmm. They can handle everything, like those late calls like you're talking about, having that team to do that. Because, you might only be making a couple $100 a month, if that at all, is the property owner. Do you want to be called all the time, right? And typically you guys charge like a percentage of the rent, right, Kathy?
Correct. Yes, we charge 8%. That's kind of typical now here in San Diego. You'd see anything from maybe 6 to 10, but
8's probably the average.
Yeah,
I know it used to be 10, and I think it's about 8% now. Yeah. I think as rents has gone up, the percentages come down a little bit to help manage that. So that means if you're renting a home for like say $2,000, that Kathy's team only collects 160, and you guys pay the mortgage payments for them, or do clients typically pay their own?
Typically, our clients mostly do, because a lot of them we have the single family home condo. They already have it on the auto pay.
Say that auto pay. So do you auto credit the rent as it comes in? So you guys collect the rent? How does that work?
Oh yes, yeah. We definitely collect the rent. We deal with all the call-ins, and then at the end of the month we send. Or at the beginning of the month, the owners get their finance or their payment, and along with statements that go with it.
Right. So they get a statement. Basically, it shows a net check. Like, hey, we just credited, say, $2,500. Here was the expenses we had. They came up because we had to call, a handyman or something.
And everything's itemized on those statements. That's the most important. We all got to do taxes. So at the end of the year, you get that, and it's just so much easier for you. You're not at the end trying to trying to find everything and get everything over to your, CPA or tax professional.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot simpler too.
Now, we've had Sarah Rotter/Wood on the air, and she's a good friend of yours who owns Allegiance Heating and Air. And what's really unique about her business, like yours, it's woman owned.
Yep.
Right? So you guys are both ladies, and you own your business in a field that's typically very male dominant, definitely in heating and air. But even in property management, I think there's a lot of tends to be guys, because they have to go out there and collect the checks maybe from, renters haven't paid type of thing. But I think that's really unique that you have, Kathy. But also what's really unique is that you're a lady who also served the United States Navy.
Yep.
How many years did you serve?
12 years altogether. I did 10 active duty and two in the reserves. Yeah, and I was an aviation electrician, so I was actually stationed right here in North Island, and then as well Hawaii. So I was super blessed, and then came back here. So
I get chills just when I hear that, because I really respect anybody that serves. It takes a huge commitment from you personally, your family, from mom and dad are more worried because you're in the Navy, to any spouses, kids. It's huge for anybody that serves, but then especially to have a lady serve. And when you served, there was probably even less women serving, and I think the percentage has probably gone up a little bit, is my guess. But I bet it was under 10% when you probably served, right?
no, there was a lot of
There's
of
more
us.
than
Yeah,
It wasn't that long ago.
yeah.
You're right. She is the youngest one in the room, by the way. Outside of our photographer, Tom, she's definitely the youngest one here.
There was quite a few, and being in the aviation side too, on the Airedale, there was quite a few. But it's neat. It's just a great experience. I really do encourage a lot of the younger ones.
As we wrap up the show in this segment, you are the best property manager I know in San Diego.
Well, thank you.
How do people reach out to you? What's the best way to find Kathy at Golden Property Management?
Please, you can go to our website. All our information there is gpmsandiego.com, and San Diego is spelt out. And you can also give us a call at 858-880-8811.
Local company, GPM San Diego. I love that, right? We talk all about San Diego. So this wraps up our Whissel Weekend show. If you want to stay tuned, we are doing our podcast, which is the Whissel Way that Kyle and I do, and Keith Bryan and I will be doing. But we just want to thank having both Ed from BNI, and I know I've said that a few times, probably quick and fast and funny, and then Kathy Christmas at Golden Property Management. Appreciate you both coming in today.
Thank you.
And you both had different picks for the Super Bowl, but I hope to be in.
We had the same.
Oh, you guys had the same.
You guys.
Oh, you're right. You're different than us.
Out here.
Yeah.
I hope to be in the stadium tomorrow, and with Kyle, we'll see if we make it. We'll report when we get back. Thank you guys for listening again to Whissel Weekend. We'll be back next Saturday afternoon.